Good day, ladies and gentlemen and fellow Team Fortress 2 enjoyers. Man vs. Machine needs no introduction. For years, many have been able to experience this classic wave defense with their favorite 9 classes for different reasons. For some, it's the chase of the elusive $6,000 golden frying pan and man up, while for others, it's simply a casual bot shooting simulator to relax after a long day. However, today I'm going to be taking most of you out of your MvM comfort zone and taking a leap into the community server browser. I'll be exploring the one game mode you've probably never heard of, Machine Attacks, made by Red My Clan in 2013. A full 16 chapters long MvM story jam-packed with action with your favorite mercenaries. And as a way to pique your curiosity, here's a quote from the fandom wiki about Machine Attacks. Not many know of this game mode due to the nature of bad English used and the poor level design. Nonetheless, give it a chance and join me on this epic story as I tell you the tale of Red and their brave conquests of the robot invasion, and as I personally relive what I believed as a kid to be the most badass thing made in this game. 2 Fort is under attack by robots. Fire and rubble ensue all over the place from the chaos. Now, it's up to the mercenaries to save what once was a peaceful nest of camping snipers, turtling intelligence engineers, and friendly hoovies. First objective, join forces with Blue to crush the robots in numbers. Surprisingly, Red sets aside the differences and their long-term conflict between the teams to opt for a truce as suggested by the engineer. To do so, however, our mercenaries will have to traverse from one fort to another, facing off endless waves of robots. And so begins this adventure in the Red Intel room. The gameplay of the first Machine Attacks episode and many more to come doesn't follow the standard formula of wave defense from regular MvM. There is no hatch, nor any bombs for the robots to deploy. In fact, as you may have deciphered by now, you are the one who is supposed to advance into the robot's territory to make progress. In episode 1, this is done through linearly capturing control points around the map. i.e., take control of the first point and the next one unlocks for you to move up until all of them are yours and you win. However, the robots will obviously try to kill and stop you. And just like in regular casual TF2, if the enemy stands on the point while you're capturing it, they will halt progress until they're physically off of it. This became sort of a problem whenever a Newbird medic came up and illegally parked himself on the objective, patiently waiting until the Uber duration ran out for his inevitable death multiple times. This, combined with the slow capture rate of the points, makes it a very slow process to do alone. I suggest bringing as many people as you can and have fun slaughtering the robots. You might have noticed from the footage that there are Halloween spells for you to pick up all around the map. This is pretty interesting because in-game, the spellbook required to cast spells and the power-up canteen occupy the same slot, which gives you, the player, a choice between taking powerful spells or opt for the classic perks such as Ubers, crits, or ammo refills. Anyways, capture each point and try to avoid insta-kill traps as much as humanly possible, then you're going to make it out of 2 Fort. Funnily enough, there is only one possible spawn for sniper bots on this wave, and unsurprisingly, even they have enough metal brain to realize that there is only one good spot for a sniper to stand on this map. That is, just outside of the spawn room on the 2nd floor. And finally, when you've made it across all the way to Blue's base, shoot down this vault door and finally, you can reunite. But just as the mercs come in, they realize the place seems eerily quiet. And something seems off. What once was bustling of the intelligence room with engineer sentries and backcapping scouts is now empty and gone. Turns out Blue is dead. And now there's a menacing boss soldier in their intelligence room. There's no running away from this one. It's going to be a fight. Standing victorious, the mercs waste no time knowing the battle won isn't a war won. They must get down to the bottom of this invasion and stop whoever is behind this. Thankfully, with Spy's excellent backcapping background and intelligence theft skills, he tells the team of a secret passage that he knows of somewhere in Blue's briefcase room that will lead them outside and perhaps one step closer to finding an answer. Look around for an unusual bump in the wall, and that concludes episode 1. The secret passage the Spy informed the team about, located in Blue's briefcase room, turned out to be a small tunnel under 2 Fort. However, right at the door, they encounter a crossroad immediately. A large rock is blocking the passage straight ahead, while a dark and dangerous cave is located just on their left. Faced with such an issue, Sniper discouragingly suggests that they have no choice but to venture into the unknown and follow the pitch black path, until suddenly, a familiar yet haunting heavyweight sound emanates from behind them. Dang! It's a trap, and the team is now sandwiched between a huge boulder and a slowly approaching pile of metal that's about to destroy everything in its path. So the mercs quickly pump all of their firepower to destroy the rock and clear the way. Then, they quickly ride up the elevator to avoid being crushed. And here they are now, in Junction, wasting no time to escape and solve the invasion. The plan is simple. Ride the train out of here. To do so, they will have to restore the power to the controllers that operate it. Otherwise, the train will not be able to leave. So, they venture inside to try to make it work. One thing throughout the campaign that's funny and hard to ignore is the horrible quality of the English. At the start of the video, I pointed to the wiki page about the poor level design and grammar issues. Now, I'd be lying if I said that this statement is false considering this episode exists. The design for this level is extremely frustrating and confusing. You'll see why, but the gameplay revolves around solving puzzles for 80% of the mission to progress, and some of them are particularly unintuitive to solve. And about the language part, remember that dark pathway crossroad I talked to you about the start of the second episode? You know, when the team was sandwiched between a huge boulder and a tank? Well, if you walk up to it, a text message pops up saying, "The way is to darkness, we can't go there." Which I find pretty funny. Anyways, I'm going to avoid pointing out the glaring text mistakes from these maps from now on, because in general, it's not bad to the point that it's incomprehensible. Who knows, maybe one day they're going to be updated up to standard by the developer with the help of the community perhaps. Now, the mercs set up their plan and ventured out to the junction to restore power. Immediately, you have a small parkour section at the start where you must avoid touching these scattered deadly lasers like you're a 007 agent. Crouch and jump your way through, and now you have to disable a large impassable barrier of these lasers. To do so, you will have to utilize these 4 control panels, but carefully and in the correct sequence. Each one is labeled as A, B, C, or D, and right behind them you can see through the gate where the correct sequence is laid out to you. The correct order to interact with the consoles is A, C, B, D, and just like that, the laser barrier is down. Next, jump up this platform facing the capture point to reveal a secret switch you will have to destroy in order to open the door. Following, the next part is a little bit tricky. To open the gate leading to the final capture point of Junction, you have to once again interact with various consoles. The first obstacle is that there are several level 3 engineer sentries on the high ground. So the first order of business is to figure out how to disable them, as Spy mentions he wouldn't be able to sap them on the ceiling from the ground. Try your best to run across the sentry fire up to the capture point, where you can interact with the blue panel, which will turn them off. Now, press some buttons on the brown console, which will prompt you to find another panel to interact with somewhere else, which will open the gate bars in front of you. Walk down the stairs and squeeze through this broken door without getting crushed, and look around for this specific regular looking console. And make sure to interact with it for a decent 5 seconds, otherwise it will not count. Note that there aren't any clues to indicate that this is the one panel you have to use in order to progress. Personally, it took me a decent 10 minutes walking around until I finally gave up and looked up a guide online. Anyways, now that all that is done, these gate bars finally lift up. However, you can't just walk through, you have to physically jump up to it to open the shortcut. And it's not a simple and small hop either, it's legitimately only doable with some mobility tools such as a rocket jump or a double jump. But I was playing heavy. alone, which made me think maybe this map wasn't really designed for solo play in mind. Particularly, looking back, you had to destroy the boulder, the team effort, which I pushed through with Heavy's great damage. Then, the part where you have to avoid sentry fire, well, Spy looks like he could come in handy and just go invisible or disguise. And now, this part where you have to open a shortcut to progress by jumping up, I thought it was Jover. Disappointed about the 30 minutes I'd wasted on these puzzles just to be stopped here, and without shooting a single bullet on a robot by now. It was supposed to be a team effort that I tried to take on alone. That is, until I remembered I could just buy jump height from the upgrade station. So then, back to spawn it is, and just like that, 300 credits was all I needed to finally progress the level. Finally, through tanks and lasers, the mercenaries make it to Junction's last point. Wasting no time, the engineer hooks it up to the control panel operating the train until the whole situation seems to have attracted some robots. Using the upgrade station nearby, everybody gets ready to defend their ticket out of this place, because if these metal killing machines destroy the generator, it's over. Quickly running back to the train and casually destroying a blocking door in their path. Finally, a nice warm breeze of air and some sunlight refresh the indoor stuck mercenaries as they take off in their new working train. And where they are headed to, you will have to find out in episode 3. All aboard! Red team is heading at full speed towards Steel. But not everything's just dust and sunshine in this never-ending desert, because the robots are back with another plot to kill the humans, and they too have a train and multiple motor vehicles at their disposal. Prepare your defenses and get ready to protect yourself to get to your destination safely. And as for the robots, they're carrying tons of heavy explosive missiles as exposed cargo on the train. Shoot it up, and they're all going down. This mission is very straightforward, which is a very nice breath of fresh air. Quite literally set outside compared to the previous claustrophobic map full of tedious puzzles. The only quirk is that if your entire team dies at the same time, you lose and have to restart from the beginning. Otherwise, it's as simple as can be. And sometimes all you want to do is just shoot robots and missiles, I guess. Funnily enough, when I played this episode, there was an engineer player that had a fire rate similar to that of a minigun on his pump action shotgun, probably because of the custom server plugin. Needless to say, we completed the mission in exactly 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Excluding the preparations phase, which compared to the previous maps is literally like 30 times faster. Anyhow, with a fiery explosion, the robots are cleared, and the mercenaries right about arrive to well. Or do they? Find out in the next episode. Well, is it well? Or is it fright? That is, the engineer straight up told fake news about coming to CP Well, because this is CP Fright. 2 completely different maps. I guess they're both sort of similar in their design of underwater pathways, trains, and follow a similar aesthetic, but otherwise they're completely different. Anyhow, this seems to be the right place, and just as expected, the place is infested with robot bots. Now that the train adventures are over, it's back to boots on the ground for Red Team, so get some upgrades and get ready to face some serious foes in this episode. As soon as the gates open, the team is warmly greeted by explosives and minigun lead from giants. When that's taken care of, the mercs head towards Red Spawn, where a small inconvenience is standing in their way. A measly regular robot soldier is standing in their way and has serious threats to the team. He calls himself the Cymanic Reaper, and he tells that there are many more of these Reaper soldiers on the way, all set out to kill them. They are the best of the best, and most elite robots. But really, what is he to them but a poser? We've defeated bigger foes by now, overwhelming hordes and much larger giants than this human-sized robot, until... Yeah, this guy means business, if you couldn't tell. He has 4 phases which get rampantly harder as you defeat each one. At first, he will swing his pickaxe at you, only being restricted to the melee range. Then, he will use his shotgun. Thirdly, he will start using barrages of rockets from his rocket launcher, which can burst your health bar in an instant. And finally, Cymanic's final phase, a large crit nuke rocket on a very low fire rate. If you don't have a coordinated team, you will have to be very careful and methodical with your approach, or else endure this painfully slow respawn times. But most importantly, a surefire way to defeat him is to abuse his play area, which is very limited for some reason. The boss soldier robot is unable to cross this little bridge over the water, so use that to your advantage for farming maximum damage on heavy, Uber from the Uber saw, or even just use damage taunts, especially during the first 2 phases of the battle. For the 3rd phase, I suggest stocking up on some blast resistances to be able to tank the stray rockets that are inevitably going to fly your way. And lastly, a good way to defeat him during his nuke phase is to simply run a pyro with air blast. Or, as an alternative, have a destroying projectiles heavy. As previously mentioned, his rate of fire during this part is very slow, so you should make sure that you are safe from every rocket. Otherwise, you are going to explode in one shot. Once again, resistances help greatly, so spare some change on them to make your life easier. Following, go down the water pathway and emerge up from the manhole, and make your way to red spawn. In here, you will find 2 things, a broken elevator and Blue Sniper, lying lifeless on the ground, dead. Besides him, the medic notices a note saying that the elevator will function once 3 controllers are turned on, so go and find them around the map while fighting off as best you can the hordes of robots. Finally, when all is set up and functional, the mercenaries make their way to the elevator ready to take off, until another Reaper robot comes and starts threatening everyone, disabling the elevator's controls. He's not one to let them go without a fight, and just like his previous soldier, he has a specialty to him. As a scout robot Reaper, he's able to pull the trigger faster than anyone and anything ever could. And as for his fast hands, he can also throw cleavers like a fully automatic weapon. His name? Jacket. Jacket's dead, but the elevator is still stuck. Hurry! The mercs run back to the controls, fighting off robots in their way and quickly repair what was broken by the Reaper in his attempt to stop the mercenaries. And finally, they're in the clear, as that concludes the 4th episode. It's a long way down. So long, in fact, you can't even see the bottom in the dark. So get your upgrades and expect trouble, for the elevator only comes with 2 level 1 dispensers on each corner, and that's all you have to help you in this never-ending hole. The elevator platform itself is relatively small, and you are going to be bombarded by robot fire from all possible angles in this claustrophobic descent. Top, bottom, left, right. It's a game of holdout that you'll have to endure if you want to get through. And if your entire team dies at the same time, you lose. But thankfully, you can use some clever strategies to help you. First and foremost, you can avoid playing engineer. Seriously, this will drastically improve the speed at which the elevator goes down. I suppose this was implemented as a way to reduce the utility of a sentry gun being able to have 360 coverage around itself, and the utility that a dispenser would bring to a team stacked in the same place. I would suggest avoiding the engineer if you're really struggling to complete the mission and you don't have a large team of at least 6 people. Secondly, there will be various robots that you should be able to at least tank their fire and damage. The elevator doesn't stop, and the robots don't drop onto you. Instead, just standing near their spawn doors all around you. Which means that if a few robots are peppering you from up high, you can just ignore them with the help of some resistance upgrades. The only exception to this rule is when 2 giant pyros come out to surround you, halting the elevator progress. Make sure to not be caught with your pants down, for they can easily just burn you down in a second if you're not ready. Defeat them, and you can proceed to one of the biggest obstacles this level has to offer. 4 level 3 sentries all around you. Now frankly, this is the hardest part because taking them all down in a timely manner is very hard. What usually happens is that you're able to destroy maybe 1 or 2 turrets until the others spray you down to death. And worst of all, even if you're the biggest and tankiest thing possible, they can still knock you back off of the elevator, resulting in you falling off to the pit where you'll die. My solution? Spy. He's great at dealing with the giants, and then he can just avoid sentry fire completely and proceed safely. Maybe at the cost of your team, that is, because reaching the sentries to sap is impossible. As for the robots, I encourage you to take some time to jump off of the elevator onto the platform if you have mobility such as soldier or scout. Then, you can jump back onto it once it's clear. You'll have an easier time dealing with the robots if you're spread out as opposed to staying on the elevator huddled all day long, just waiting for them to shoot you to death. So to recap, you need to make sure you have survival tools and that you're aware of your surroundings. And I never thought that there would be a day when I would willingly suggest MvM players to purchase health regen. The 10 HP regen per second at max upgrade makes a huge difference, considering you're opting out of playing engineer to descend faster. The 1000 credits investments to stay alive longer are totally worth it, considering you start out with 4000 of them. Black Box and Conqueror for soldier are similarly great for yourself and for the team from the banner buff. And as I said previously from the sentries, you could simply cheese it with a spy. But then, as you're slowly getting close to the bottom, suddenly, the elevator gets stuck. This usually never ends well, as you hear some concerning sounds of old and rusty malfunctions. As it suddenly loses control, and the team entirely free falls to the bottom. You are in a coma. God damn it, this screen scared the shit out of me, for I was not expecting it to be flashing in front of my eyes like that creepily. It sort of reminds me of a VHS analog horror. But now, prepare yourselves for the most bullshit parkour section ever and more classic machine attacks puzzles. And I mean it for a reason, because as you're walking along, you're randomly going to fall through the floor all the way back down to the ground. No joke. There's absolutely no indication of where it's safe or not to step, so all you can do is just pray and follow a beaten path. Anyways, it's dark and everyone's shivering from the cold. Thankfully everybody made it, as the medic heals everyone up from the fall. Now, they're going to have to go by foot through claustrophobic ventilation shafts and back-end rooms. The team quickly makes use of the debris from the elevator to get up to the vents. After crawling through, they break this cracked glass window and grab themselves access to the core. There, they use this metal bar as a way to conduct electricity from this torn cable, which opens the path upstairs. Going up, they take advantage of the exposed grate floor to blow up an explosive barrel near a box blocking a ventilation shaft exit, which means that going back there's a new pathway. A little bit of parkour and more vents mazes, the mercenaries finally make it out to a small storage room, from which the next episode will tell what lies inside. Have you ever played an underwater level in Mario? Do you wish that you could replicate such an experience in Team Fortress 2? Well, introducing Episode 6, where you'll have the chance to spend at least half your time underwater suffocating. The storage compartments the mercenaries entered into from the ventilations are mostly empty, so they set out to venture further in hopes of reaching the core of the robot's production. One of the rooms at the end of the hallway leads to a large puzzling underwater segment. Essentially, you're going to have to find a method to survive the constant suffocation damage. You can do so in multiple ways, but my suggestions would be having an engineer, a medic, and sparing some credits on health regen. There are 3 pathways. Swim to the right side and through the tunnel at the end where Spy mentions something useful could lie behind this wall. I don't know why, but I suppose he's got a natural 6th sense knowing there's a switch room behind a thick wall. Break it and make sure to not suffocate, where you'll emerge to activate this button, opening access to the second pathway. Navigate back to where you came from into the second tunnel, where you'll have to carefully swim across these weirdly large, deadly spitting turbines. Shoot this conveniently placed button, which opens the last pathway for your team. swim to it, and finally you can emerge from the water. Red takes some time to catch their breath before moving forward. But then, a familiar computer noise emanates from the speakers. The voice is that of a robot spy congratulating the team for making it this far, and notes that there's a special surprise waiting for them soon enough. Sounds like a trap, but it's not like the mercenaries have much of a choice but to go forward, so it's on. As they slowly push their way through waves of robots of all calibers. As they make it to the gate, they see him. The robot spy menacingly stands over 3 Reaper soldiers, all ready to tear the Reds to shreds. He's the one who can give them the signal to go wild and let them off their leash. Angrily, Soldier exclaims that the spy comes down and fights one-on-one, instead of hiding behind an unbreakable glass window. But the robot spy isn't one to fight himself, for he's a man of business, with no time for such frivolous activities that are best left to the general robot army. Jokingly, he teases the red team by letting go 2 of the Reaper's robots away, leaving only the super demo man to take care of the job. As the spy takes off, the mercenaries get to meet Benai, as the gates behind them suddenly close. Just like the other super robots from previous chapters, he packs a punch with a lot of health and a lot of damage, and he too has multiple phases of battle. At first, he'll drunkenly swing his bottle. Then, he'll charge you as a Demo Knight. Both are relatively straightforward to defeat as long as you keep your range and have debuffs to apply, such as a Jarate, Milk, or Sappers. However, his next phase is interesting and yet simple. His health will be dramatically buffed to the point that he's borderline unkillable, and he will wield a katana. And if he manages to kill somebody, he will literally restore all of his health points. So the solution is really simple. Get a katana of your own as Soldier or Demo Man and kill him. You see, the halves Zatoichi has this dual feature allowing a one-hit kill on other halves Zatoichi users, which means that even this guy with 1,000,000 health is but a single slash away from death. Honestly, I found this to be pretty clever, as it implements both combat and puzzles into one bundle. You could just shoot him down in this phase, with your team being careful of not dying as to not allow himself to heal. But if you figured it out, you could treat it like a puzzle and switch weapons to defeat him faster. Anyhow, defeat his last phase where he will grenade spam you, and that's all he wrote. Laying dead, the Reaper seems to be out of commission as Red starts celebrating. But Benai has one last trick up his sleeve. Like a true explosives and demolitions expert, he's got a secret recipe for a large explosion, a self-destruction, in exactly 2 minutes that's going to take down the entire place with him. So the mercenaries quickly book it out of there, fighting off the occasional stray robots in their way and destroying any obstacles blocking the path to their escape. Thankfully, it looks like the red team just about made it in time out of the building that collapsed from the explosives. Buckle up, because there's a lot to go through in this episode. Straight ahead is a highway full of broken and flipped vehicles, and all around is but a sandy desert. So, it seems like there's nowhere else to go but to follow the road of obstacles and death. Immediately, there's a tank with several sentries on itself and guard pyros. Quite impressive and innovative, I might add, combining the forces of the tank as a vehicle with the strength of an immobile sentry turret. Anyways, pump all of your resources into the tank and watch it burst into flames before crossing the gate barrier ahead. But be careful, because it seems like the robot spy from last episode has laid down traps for the team to stop them. The desert is full of landmines, and straight ahead is a small glint. Turns out that is a Reaper sniper, camping from all the way across the map, ready to pull the trigger on any moving target in front of him. So the mercenaries carefully moved from cover to cover, hiding behind any vehicle or debris they could find in their way to avoid the incoming fire, all the while dealing with giant robots and pesky hordes. But this isn't anything new to them, as with patience, they slowly make it across to the large facility they were taking sniper fire from and try to open the entrance. But this is machine attacks we're talking about. So naturally the gate doesn't open simply with the press of a button. The sniper sees that there's no battery in the device operating the huge door, so the team will have to set out to find a battery somewhere to give it power. And for some reason, they're all the way in spawn. on the table near the upgrade station. Not that you'd know about this unless you completed the mission previously, so it becomes an adventure of its own to fetch it all the way to the door through sniper fire and a constant barrage of robots. Worst of all, it's a regular prop that you'll have to move by punching or shooting. Good luck trying to punch a small battery across the map while you're getting shot at non-stop by this unkillable Reaper sniper, and carefully make sure to not send it out of bounds into a minefield / get it stuck under some map geometry. Anyhow, bring it in and try your best to not break your monitor while attempting to fit it inside of the box it's supposed to go in. And finally, you can use the button to open the huge gate. Get inside and take some time to remember where this locked door is located on your right, for you'll need it later. For now though, navigate through a bunch of shipping containers and barrels to the other end of the wall. To cross, the team will have to find 3 sticks of dynamite in this spy-infested maze in order to blow up the blocking boxes. Eventually, as they find them all and Demoman blows the thing up, they enter what seems to be a special trial facility, as if this building everyone's in right now, housing the Reaper sniper who was laying down fire on the mercenaries not long ago, is cleverly designed as a trap. But they're a clever bunch, so this should be no match for them. You'll need at least 2 players for the first puzzle. One will be set up in this room, operating the switches responsible for opening doors, managing lasers, and activating elevators. The rest of the team will be moving forward into the no man's land. The first A switch will ride the elevator up for your team. Then, hitting it again will open the drop down blocked by lasers, which are turned off by pressing the B panel. Inside is a room full of lasers, blue and red. To get across, make sure to coordinate with the controller guy, moving as a unit. As soon as everybody is inside the drop down, punch the B button once again to disable the blue lasers. But be careful, this will inevitably lead to the activation of a laser gate over the drop down, killing anyone who wishes to go through, unless the process is restarted from the beginning. Now, the team can more easily navigate the obstacles with the blue lasers disabled. Only the red ones are left, which are relatively easy to avoid. As soon as everybody gets close enough to the door, press the B button a final time in order to open the door to the next part for the team. But remember, this will turn back on the lasers in the maze, which will immediately vaporize any straggling mercenaries. Now, as the team moves forward, the controller guy can open the door to C, which will spawn a few robot scouts. Quickly take care of them and go through the door onto a bridge hanging over some lava. Once in, have your button man press the C panel again in order to open the door at the end of the bridge, closing the first one. And move carefully, avoiding huntsman snipers from the side. And finally, repeat the same process for the last part, which will take you up to the top using the elevator. Whew, well, that was quite a lot, right? Good luck doing this with a pub squad. You need to be very coordinated for this, and also just not suck at parkour to avoid the lasers. And speaking of parkour, once the team rides up the elevator, they will have to get across the entire facility back to where the locked door I mentioned near the entrance was located. That is, jumping on high beams from one another to reach your destination. Mind you, it's pretty far, and the jumps are quite scary, since you're so high up, with a kill barrier right underneath them. And if you die, you respawn all the way back at spawn, without a single checkpoint by now. For what's legitimately over 50 minutes of gameplay up until this point, you're going to have to run a marathon every time you fall or mess up the puzzles with the button guy. And don't forget, this unkillable sniper on the roof is not moving, happily ready to kill you as you're shamefully walking back to the objective on that desert road. So please, have an engineer set up teleporters at every little inch of progress you make, because there's nothing more frustrating than redoing the same stupid puzzles on this map. Or I guess you could just shamelessly ride the bumper car back, because that's pretty funny. Anyways, make your way across the high beams in a U-shape, going back atop the puzzles you just solved and around onto the high beams over the shipping containers maze without falling, where you can break into the locked room from the roof. After all of the pain and suffering you've been through, your team will get your first checkpoint. But don't celebrate too early, because the puzzles are not yet done. Ahead of Red lie the last of the deadly trials, so resupply and prepare yourself with some upgrades to face them on. Trial 1. A maze. Find your way through and teleport to Trial 2. Fight your way through a snake of robots to reach the other end where lies the teleporter to Trial 3. Parkour. Oh my god. This parkour section is legitimately so frustrating. First of all, good luck doing this with anything but Soldier. There are deadly spikes all over the place and you have to navigate it with careful rocket jumps like it's Geometry Dash. I'm disappointed to inform you people that it is at this point that I gave up on this episode. Or have I? Here's some footage of what the parkour actually looks like in-game. Its long, winding, claustrophobic corridors and unforgiving jumps required are seriously challenging and borderline impossible if you're not Soldier. Our brave Pyro tried his best jumping through with his thermal thruster, but to no avail as he ran out of fuel or failed his landing every time. And as for our Soldier, well, Alright, well, we've all been there at some point. So, we collectively decided to move on, and I logged off, for I couldn't handle this forsaken and infuriating episode anymore. And note that it took us a total of an hour and 10 minutes to get up until that point. Granted, we were a little bit slow at times, but the most important and time-consuming part was just trying to complete this episode with a low player count. This was just like episode 2, where you had to combine your knowledge of the game with a coordinated team to progress. However, this time the task was much harder. So much so, in fact, that we had a turnover rate of like 90%. Sorry, Manco. We started off the mission happily in the desert with 8 players all playing various classes. In hindsight, that's great and exactly what we need in order to make progress and utilize each class's strengths in the puzzles and combat. But as soon as we came to the first puzzle, everyone left knowing exactly nobody wanted to deal with infuriating parkour and attempting coordination with strangers. They just want to shoot robots, for God's sake. I was the last man standing, and to complete the trial, I'd need a friend. Thanks, Moderate Doinks. You came in clutch as a button manager for the part before the checkpoint. After a while, more new people logged back in, which was great, but after reaching the Soldier parkour section, we all gave up, tired, and I gave up disappointed. But I ain't a quitter, so I came back to it with a refreshed mind. Until I stumbled upon a newer version of the map, and wow, there are some huge changes here. So, rapid fire, here's what changed. No bumper cards. The batteries are now all over the place and conveniently placed near the gate as opposed to back in spawn. No more having a dedicated button manager. All the switches are now near their respective puzzles to avoid confusion and ease coordination. Nuke checkpoints and the Soldier parkour section is nerfed. Truly, I have experienced pain and agony in its purest form in the original episode 7. And damn did the people playing who left as soon as the puzzle section came along knew that it was infuriating as hell. I can't really blame them for being stuck in one place for chunks of 30 minutes at a time, either because of parkour or a lack of team play, is unbelievably frustrating. But now, as the Soldier jumps through the 3rd trial and opens the shortcut for the rest of the team, there lies the teleporter to the 4th trial, a sentry corridor. Have your spy run through disguised and turn them all off in one click at the end, allowing the rest of the team to go through. And no, there's no other way to get through this, so just as with Soldier for the last trial, make sure you have a spy on your team specifically for this part. But looking back, there was definitely a way to cheese the parkour and sentry section. How, you might ask? With the help of some particular spells. That's right, thanks Marasmus, because 2 different spells allow you to skip these trials. First off, the parkour. Utilizing the Minify, we can shrink ourselves and grant ourselves infinite jumps. And right at the start of the 2nd trial, where you have to get through the robots maze, the developer was generous enough to leave a purple spell book giving out rare spells. Just keep re-rolling until you get the one, and you can make it as any class, as long as you're careful with your jumps and are considerate of your time with the spell. Secondly, the sentry corridor can be bypassed with Spy's tools, that is, with a cloak or an enemy disguise. Coincidentally, one of the spells allows you to do exactly that, go invisible for a short while, and you can get it all the way back at your spawn. So run back and keep re-rolling the green spellbook until you get the 1. Technically, you don't really need a soldier and spy now. Still, this is painfully slow, having to wait until you get the correct spells, not including all the time spent going back and forth. Anyways, with the turrets finally disabled, the last trial awaits, where the team is boxed in and forced to defeat 50 giant robots until the final door opens. Blow them up and reach the top of the building. The tippity top, where once was standing the Reaper sniper, mercilessly shooting them across the map, through trials and tribulations, through puzzles and robots, and through rage quits and map changes. It's time to face the evil camper. Having navigated through every trap carefully designed to kill you, it's about time to take on the boss of this tower of pure evil. Meet Divida, equipped with his trusty SMG, ready to take on the mercenaries. But as Red is filled with anger, they will stop at nothing to defeat this enemy. Through SMGs, Giraudis, and bows, turns out he is nothing but a chump in close quarters combat, constructed of the most durable metal armor giving him high amounts of health, and built-in precision to win any long-range duels. He is but a damage sponge up close. If I actually completed the mission, because the game soft-locked itself during his last phase, I guess it's probably because we killed him with Afterburn or a medic shield, which didn't allow his next phase to spawn. Fuck this map, man! Inside the gigantic facility connected to the previous building are rows upon rows of tanks stacked on one another. It appears that this is some sort of storage warehouse for the robot vehicles, but they're being guarded by tons of robots. So whatever Red does here, their enemies will not be happy with their presence. Considering this is a storage facility for various tanks, the Red team suggests that in order to move forward, they open the large gate, which would possibly nest their escape. But right as they start scouting the place out, a human voice emanates from the speakers all around them. It's Greyman, the original creator of the robots and the mastermind behind this offensive. He's got little to say though, aside from telling the mercenaries that there is no way they are getting past the gate, for it's locked and protected by several security blocks on the computer operating it. To get through, the engineer will have to hack it, but this will take time, for each lock has to be manually disabled by hand. So the game plan is simple: protect the engineer from the hordes of robots that Greyman sends our way while he's busy hacking the gate to our escape. Do not allow the robots to explode the computer or they will be locked out. Episode 8 is very interesting, but is quite the haul with 10 huge waves. Yes, you heard that right, waves. This is the mission that functions like regular man vs. machine, where you are on the defense and have to stop the robots from deploying the bomb into the hatch. This also means that if you fail, you don't have to restart from the beginning, but from the last wave, which is very nice. But don't get too comfortable, because this map is truly a challenge if you have a low player count. This is because this map was designed for a difficulty of what a 10-man team can handle. The same is true for all the other previous maps, but they are balanced out with various changes to accommodate the player count. For example, your team will benefit from a damage multiplier and have a resistance buff if you're not that many. This linearly scales as you acquire more members on your team to balance out. But for some reason, this balance is excluded from this map, which means that you're going to have a tough time completing the map as a one-man army. And even with a standard 6-player rule man versus machine functions on, you'll still have a very hard time. Hell, the last wave houses a tank that has 100 million health, excluding the robots and their bomb that are annoying you. If you're curious, for reference, the most tankiest and highest health tank in the original Man vs. Machine tours has a max health of 60,000. You literally need to destroy the regular man-up tank 16,000 times to defeat this machine attack tank once. But this was done by design, so there's a way. First of all, there are many different buffs for you to pick up in the spawn room and all around the map. These include getting mini crits, becoming small, getting the Conqueror buff, etc. They will last you for 3 minutes with a small cooldown of only 60 seconds. Second of all, there's a random effect machine that will give you a random effect for a short while. But of course, as its name suggests, it's totally random, so it can be both good or bad. You could get soaked in mad milk for the next 5 minutes, or you could get a bonk effect allowing you to dodge all damage for a while. But the bread and butter that will allow you to complete the mission are premium upgrades. Damage in regular MvM is king, and they will help you exactly with that. Because as I said previously, good luck trying to take down a tank with 100 million health, even if you have 10 Phlogistinator Pyros with crit canteens. You wouldn't even leave a scratch on it with all these flames. Each pyro would have to deal a minimum of 10 million damage each before the tank deploys the bomb, which is impossible. So it's about time I talk premium upgrades. Essentially, you'll have to install some plugins to your Team Fortress 2 folder for them to function, and they give some really serious buffs if you have the credits for them. Remember how in episode 3, I showed an engineer having an insane fire rate on his shotgun, allowing us to completely bypass the part where we had to break down the missiles on the train? Well, that was thanks to the premium upgrade station. Press the button near the upgrade station to switch between regular and premium upgrades and go ham to become a literal cyborg. I avoided talking about them because they are quite pricey, as you wouldn't have as much money on a stage, and I didn't want to go through the trouble of installing custom mods to my computer. But this episode was very hard, and coincidentally gave you so much money that by the end of wave 1, you'd be maxed out. And that's not all. It was so generous with its credits that my game regularly crashed. But anyways, this doesn't take away from the fun that I'd had on this map. After all of the machine attacks maps I'd played, playing some classic wave defense MvM was just a breath of fresh air. But it had its small twist. First of all, there are 2 spawns completely opposite of each other. On the left of the tank storages, you'll have the regular spawn over a death pit, where the robots will have to follow a relatively straightforward path to the hatch. The second is all the way straight at the bottom of this huge building. The robots will have to climb Mount Everest every time they wish to make progress, giving you plenty of time to react. It is only at about 70% of the way to the hatch that there is a true choke point for your team to take advantage of, where the robots will funnel into one direction from both spawns. This is yet another reason why this map is relatively hard to complete with a low player count, because managing both spawns can get really overwhelming fast. Thankfully, there is but one bomb, and after a while, it resets, so take advantage of this as much as you can. I'd suggest having your engineer physically plant his sentry on the bomb to prevent any giant or ant scouts from picking them up. If you're not careful, they can slip past you very quickly without you even realizing until it's too late. As you complete each wave, the red engineer will inform you that he's slowly making progress on the hack towards opening the huge gate. The scout acts like a complete asshole and exclaims he goes faster. But Pyro steps in like the bigger man and gives some positive words of encouragement. He says, "Thanks, Pyro. Keep fighting and keep hacking." At one point, it comes to their mind that they make use of the spy's sapper to disable some security features, so thanks, Spy. However, when they reach 90%, Greyman comes on the speaker once again. It looks like his attempts to stop the mercs so far have been futile, so he sends his doppelganger robots to fight. They have upgrades just like the mercenaries, including resistances, health regen, and a lot of firepower. Take them down and take care of the 100 million health tank. That seems to be the last of Greyman's supply of robots here, except for one last robot. Not just any robot, a heavy reaper robot. Meet Spencer, for he's not here to fool around. Honestly, by now that you've defeated these insanely hard waves protecting the engineer, you should be able to use the same tools that allowed you to get up until this point to defeat Spencer. Seriously, these enormous waves of giants, cheesy tiny scouts, and insanely strong tanks are no match for this Reaper robot now. Through his punches, shotguns, and minigun, the red team quickly makes a fine metal pile off of Spencer, as the heavy claims his spot as the true policeman. And it's about time. The gates finally open from the hacking. And would you look at that? Those are some really advanced flying machines. Perhaps we could take them to reach Greyman. So fuel up and get ready for liftoff as the team takes off into the sunset to episode 9. The sky is clear and Red is heading at full speed through the air over the large sea to Greyman's base. It feels good to finally make significant progress towards stopping this invasion, for as soon as they get to him, they can take revenge once and for all for the destruction he's caused. Sniper takes some time to take a walk on the roof of the plane to reflect on what he's been through so far. As he holds on to the wall to resist the winds pushing him off the plane, he intakes the high speed at which they are going. Finally, he thinks, this will be the end of it all. Until Heavy notices the raiders are picking up some red dots up nearby. Enemy robots are catching up to us, and they're here to take us down. Thankfully, it's but a single aircraft. This shouldn't be too much of an issue for the team. Taking pot shots at each other, this is a game that Red is taking on their turf. They have supplies for days, health, ammo, and thankfully, the ship seems durable enough to sustain enemy rocket fire. Until yet another unit appears on the radars. This is trouble, as another robot aircraft arrives on the other side and starts firing at them. Sandwiched between two enemies, they have no option but to split their attention between them, taking out their foes' turrets. Pyro takes care of air blasting as much incoming fire as he can, while the sniper carefully lines up his shots on the medics' heads. Through this hardship battle, it appears that the situation is severely getting out of control. The floor is collapsing, and the red team's airplane is falling apart rapidly. They're going to have to figure something out quickly. There's glass all over the place. The wings are barely holding together in one piece, and the emergency alarm sounds whistle loudly. This is no good. As the team tries their best to eliminate the enemies, the situation only seems to deteriorate rapidly. For now, there's barely any place to stand, as everybody starts huddling together. God help us, screams the sniper, as suddenly, a huge shadow looms over them. Slowly looking up, they see it. A gigantic enemy carrier, about 10 times their size, drops down some rappel ropes. Slowly coming down from the skies are giant robots onto our aircraft. As if it weren't going to plummet by now due to the enemy fire, now it seems like the situation is truly doomed, as the size and weight of the deployed giants alone could just weigh down the plane to the bottom of the ocean if Red doesn't take care of them immediately. What was a peaceful and enthusiastic ride to Greyman's base now seems to be a complete disaster that will inevitably kill Red. The robots have encircled Red from all sides, right, left, top, and now bottom. The ship is beyond critical condition, and it seems like the robots are not stopping their assault. But Soldier has a plan. He's truly one man to think straight in the heat of battle. He suggests the team uses his parachutes in order to jump on the plane that was set up to encircle them. What the robots thought would be an encirclement, Red could actually use to their advantage to abandon ship and jump onto the enemy territory. So on 3, they all jump off, leaving the giants behind. Out of the frying pan, into the fire. The sun came out on the ship with its morning gentle beams hitting the mercenaries. Perhaps not everything's as bad as it seems, still in one piece after yesterday's battle. But now, they move out in search of the controls, expecting resistance at every corner. Firstly, they'll have to find a way to break into the ship. Thankfully, it looks like hugging the wall, there's a ventilation shaft to the inside. Break the fan and get inside. Once in, Demoman makes use of his explosives to destroy some boxes to clear the way and flips the lever to open the door. As the team navigates inside, they seem to have disturbed a dormant giant robot, a Titan soldier. 4 times the size of a regular giant. This could be troublesome. Now past that issue, the team needs to open yet another locked door protected by a passcode. So go ahead and try to find wherever it is. This map really needs you to have a demo man. The part about destroying boxes is so much easier with stickies and pipes. And then you also have to shoot out the vents where roller pipes help a lot. Otherwise, dealing with the Titan robot can be quite a challenge because his rockets hurt and have a huge splash radius. Running Air Blast is not enough where he shoots out multiple rockets at a time. Air Blast will simply be unable to reflect everything. I suggest having an engineer with the short circuit because he can delete all of his fire with one carefully timed shot. And as for the puzzle, look around the computers in each room while fighting back robots and you should find the correct sequence for the code is 13579, making an X shape. When all is done, the mercenaries move past the lock into a larger room. Looking around, the heavy spots a control panel on the other side of a glass window. He believes that this control panel will open the gates, so he suggests the team find a way to get in there. Until mid-sentence, a familiar uncloaking sound interrupts them, the same noise they hear on the battlefield while fighting the blue team. That's the sound of Spy, and he's alive. Hey red team, I need your help. How did that blue spy come here? Our team was captured by those damn robots. Please, could you open this gate to let us in? Well, I will try. Oh, there's someone behind you. Watch out. No, he killed the blue spy on camera. He's going to pay for this. But the robot spy is furious that the red team is still alive from the last encounter with the Reaper demo man. They're ruining all of his plans. Fine, he says. I'll unleash Kritz Uba, the medic Reaper, alongside his trusty giants. And he's out for blood, knowing we killed his best friend Spencer in the storage warehouse before takeoff. Well now, this shouldn't be anything new for Red. The Reaper medic is not one to scoff at. During his combat phases where he's alone, he can quite easily burst you down with his needles. But the real challenge comes during his phases with Titans. The giants are so large compared to the medic's tiny body that reaching him is a challenge in itself. But thankfully, his healing output is rather low, so shooting his patient is not a bad idea as long as you're careful of the occasional Ubers that will inevitably result from this. Fight through a Titan Scout, Titan Demoman, and a Titan Heavy when finally Red defeats Kritz Uber. Now, it's time to get back at the robot spy once and for all. But he's one step ahead and shut down all exits around the team. Poison gas quickly fills the room up to the ceiling and the stench of bitterness starts irritating everyone. Holding out as best they can, Red team try to escape but to no avail as the effects of the gas quickly kick in before they even know it. Finally awake, Red team finds themselves inside the glass container, still dizzy from the gas, and just across them is the remainder of Blue team cowering. It seems that the spy has captured the mercenaries on board and held hostage for who knows how much time. I've caught them all, Gray, says the robot spy. Good work, Metalgen. Now they are useless. That's what the spy's name is. Kill them all. And take all of their money. As you wish, Gray. The team wakes up in a sterile medical facility. Surprised at their condition, Red is both confused and curious to know what happened. It's all a dream, drunkenly exclaims the demo man. But everybody's got a clear memory of fighting the Reaper medic and then being poisoned to death by Metalgen. Could this be hell? Oh no, the mercenaries are really dead this time. And now there's creepy skeletons, Halloween bosses, and undead robots. Truly the worst. Well now, they'd have to find a way to get out of here. A soldier suggests the team go find Marasmus who lives somewhere nearby. And so they set out to find the tall wizard in this place where even the rocks seemingly melt from the eternal heat. This is a very stylistic and unique map to the campaign, but it's also not an easy one, full of challenges. But I'm not one to complain, for this is hell after all. This shouldn't be anything new if you've played the Halloween events, but to see this in an MvM map is delightful. But most importantly, the map is completely set in medieval mode, which means the mercenaries are stripped to their melees and primitive weaponry. So get out there and start slashing the undead robots and skeletons, all the while avoiding the Halloween bosses. And don't forget to purchase upgrades behind the spawn room. One cool thing introduced in this map is the Superman. Whenever you die, you have a very slim chance of respawning with crits, uber, and a speed boost. Make use of it to defeat the robots as much as you can during the 1 minute it lasts. And whatever you do not enter this out of bounds shack. It will jump scare you and make you crash your game like it's Undertale. Anyways, punch your way through the undead and reach the parkour section. Since the map is restricted to medieval mode, Demo Knight and Base Jumper help greatly to maneuver around the gaps. Make it across, and there stands Marasmus in front of 7 rooms. The red team get on their knees and start begging him to bring us back to life, but he informs the mercenaries that he'll only do so if they complete each and every trial in front of them. Only then can he negotiate with them. So Red set out to complete them all one at a time. Rapid fire, here they are in order. Trial 1, survive for a minute against the undead. Trial 2, Squid Game platformer. Trial 3, obstacle course. Trial 4, invisible maze. Trial 5, a multi-level coin flip death run. Trial 6, destroy the gates of hell while fighting off enemies and juking Sisyphus's boulders. And finally, Trial 7, defeat the gatekeeper Pyro. At last, the mercenaries are back with the challenges completed. Promptly saying goodbyes, Marasmus casts his resurrection spell on the red team. "I'll see you on Halloween," he exclaims. "Or in hell." Through hell and back, the red team finds themselves nowhere else but in a bin of garbage. Damn you, Marasmus. But the second chance is not to be wasted. Now to get out and get back at Metalgen and Greyman. Break out of the trash room and into the robot facility. With barely any money left since last time Metalgen stole everything off of them, the mercenaries are carefully moving as a team to defeat the robots of all calibers and sizes. Get past the first gate by capturing the point nearby and you'll hear Metalgen talk. Furious and screaming through the speakers, he was 100% sure that he killed Red. Keep pushing through every obstacle standing your way and don't stop tearing the robots to shreds. There is no stopping Red from getting to the robot spine now. A Titan robot guarding the last gate? No problem. By this point, you should have enough credits to take on the Titan, and if you're lucky enough, use the Superman buff. Now past that roadblock, the team enters what seems to be a trap room. The coward spy is hiding yet again behind another Reaper robot, Tinky, the engineer. Quickly, Red will have to defeat him to catch up to the spy. This boss fight is truly something special. The engineer itself is rather clueless and lost most of the time, but the various hazards are horribly designed. He'll have sentries pop out at random around you, so you'll have to be on your toes to destroy them as soon as they turn on. Then, make sure to avoid the ground lasers. And now, the floor itself is moving with a kill barrier right underneath if you're unfortunate enough to fall. Finally, make sure to avoid the occasional barrage of crit rockets out of this hole. On top of all of that, to progress, you have to shoot the glass window Tinky hides behind, which occasionally closes with a barrier. You have to manage 5 tasks at once, all of which will kill you in an instant if you're not careful. Truly, one of the most frustrating of the entire series. Thankfully, you shouldn't take up too much of your time. For now, with the Engineer Reaper defeated and his buildings destroyed, it's about time they reach the spy. With nowhere to escape, it's time to face the invisible foe, Metalgen. Sweet revenge for his thievery, destruction, and cold murder. It's time to have a one-on-one with their killer. Metalgen against the mercenaries. Although he has many tools and trinkets to use in combat, they're no use against loads of mercenaries' fire. He will try to disguise, cloak, and use his Deadringer to his advantage, but don't be fooled and just spy check. Watch out for his knife, which can knock you back and stun you. At last, our longtime foe stands down, dead and not coming back from hell. Metalgen is dead. And now, it's time to get to Grey Man, the seed of all evil. Meanwhile, the robot space seems to have initiated a self-destruct sequence as a result of the robot spy's death. Hurley destroying the window glass, the mercenaries take off like badasses in their bumper carts into the forest. The creator of the campaign went all out with this one, making 3 entire maps dedicated to bumper carts. Your escape out of Metalgen's base is made on these tiny Halloween cars. Seriously, these were really fun as soon as I got the hang of it. It took me a while to realize that I could jump with the carts, but after that I was unstoppable. Before the self-destruction, the spy snatched Metalgen's radio he used to communicate with Grey Man. Well now, this could be useful. Grey Man, clueless of the new owners of the device on the other side, informs the team that he has plans of mobilizing some of his robot army towards Mann City, where an ally rebel force of friendly robots have united to fight the blue robots. So now, that's the team's new destination. You are granted a few credits at the start, and these will be all of your supply for the rest of the mission, because you are not getting out of the bumper cart, nor are there any upgrade stations later, so use the money wisely with that in mind. Specifically, make sure that you have health regen maxed, because this will be your primary source of regenerating health. There are various obstacles around the map, such as jumps, robots, and tanks. But in reality, they are not a problem at all, for you can simply drive through with them with a spy's disguise. Yep, the robots will not notice anything suspicious. And if you want to be 100% safe, spend your remaining credits on resistances, leaving you only to worry about parkour. Also, to help you around, make sure to grab the spells. The parachute spell is a lifesaver, for if you messed up a jump, you'll have a second chance at the press of a button. And for good measure, make sure to bump into as many robots as you can to destroy them, all the while avoiding enemy fire. Anyhow, I approve of these 3 bumper cart maps greatly, as they were really fun to complete. It's just not something you see regularly in Team Fortress 2, and moreover, the map is quite large and well done, so good job to the creator on this one. Finally through, the team makes it to a mountainous area, the last point before reaching Mann City. But judging from the terrain, it looks like the bumper carts won't be of any more use here for Red. Perhaps they can find something around that will help them across these mountainous and vertical terrains. Find out in episode 13. Mountains, robots, and grappling hooks. Strap on for yet another movement-oriented map with more robot heat this time. Yes, the grappling hook from the Manpower game mode is here, and you can use it by pressing your canteen button to become Spider-Man. Ahead of the team lies a vast area, where after crossing they encounter some resistance in the form of titans and a battleship equipped with rockets. Take them down and move up to the next area. Red encounters a mine exit which seems to be spewing out never-ending pairs of rapid-fire robots, so before leaving, they grapple back to spawn and grab an explosive in order to blow up the exit by collapsing rocks and debris on the exit from the blast. With that taken care of, it's a fight against titans and well-positioned robots in all places in this mountainous area. Quickly grappling around and using the speed to their advantage, the team closes the distance on them, while the sniper sits back and takes them out, carefully lining up shots from a distance. Now out of the Rocky Mountains, Red has reached the bridge, which undeniably has to lead to Mann City. But there's one last obstacle in the way before arrival. Maha, the Reaper Pyro robot. Without too much mumbling, it's on with a fight. His phases of combat are relatively straightforward. Keep your distance to stay out of melee or flame range where he can kill you fast. The challenge is that he has a lot of movement speed, allowing him to catch up to you rather quickly. But this shouldn't be too much of an issue as long as you use the tool that has aided you this entire mission thus far. Grapple the ground to gain speed, and now you can outrun and outrange him with ease. And lastly, be very careful of shooting any projectiles on him during his degreaser phase. He will perfectly air blast it. But worst of all, the knockback is so strong that you'll be sent to the skybox in seconds. If you're caught, try your best to grapple to the ground. Finally, take the few manpower ups around you, and Maha's flames should be no issue for you. Well now, that also seems to be all of the Reaper robots out of commission. It looks like Red is truly close to the end now. To reach Grey Man, it's only a matter of time before all of his plans come to an end. But first, the team will have to check up on Man City and see what the talk was about our robot resistance. Welcome to Grand Theft Fortress 2. Episode 14 is a pseudo open world experience where you'll have to explore Man City. Following the sounds of combat, the team meets up with the resistance, consisting of a red robot soldier, sniper, and scout. Quite the letdown, as the robot soldier explains to the team that they lost their fellow rebels in battle to Grey Man's army. It appears that the red team came a little too late to the party to save the others, and their new met friends are slowly starting to run out of battery by now from all their operations around here. After some friendly chats over a little blue robot massacre, they agree to help the mercenaries with their plan to reach Grey Man. They say that they know of a teleporter somewhere in the outer part of the city that will take them to where they need to go. But first, to reach it, they'll have to deal with the city's problems, and most importantly, look for new batteries to restore the power to the resistance. Taking a break inside with the friendly robots, the team takes some time to familiarize themselves with the layout of Man City. The map itself is quite large, and in style with the open world aesthetic this episode is following. You'll have to refer to it whenever you wish to go anywhere and not lose yourself. The robot soldier is the main leader of the resistance, and he's the one who will give you quests for you to fulfill in order to progress the mission. Inside your safe house is your upgrade station, and just in front are various manpower upgrades and buffs for you. Also, there's a bumper cart station for any of your quick travel needs. As for the map itself, it's quite large in terms of Team Fortress 2 standards, so you'll have to scavenge around buildings in order to find ammo, perks, and various objectives. And the best part about all of this, you're technically free to do whatever you want. There's a leveling system in this episode that directly links to the amount of robots you kill. The more enemies you destroy, the stronger you become. As in, when you level up, sometimes you'll receive occasional mini crits, have a chance to get Uber charge, etc. So kill some robots and wander about the map until you're satisfied, and go talk to the robot soldier for him to give you your first mission. He tells of an enemy patrol plane roaming around Man City that the team will have to destroy first and foremost before they proceed with any of their plans. So get out there and head to the west where you can shoot it out of the sky with no problem. Its patrol path is very linear and it doesn't shoot back if you stand behind it. Once done, head back to the safe house where you can take on the next quest. The robot soldier tells the mercenaries of the critical condition of their rebels as of now. Running out of power and with pieces barely holding on, he asks the team to seek out components for their repairs. He needs some gas, batteries, and some scraps, and notes that you can find them in a Jimmy Jam shop, in a barn, and on the 6th floor of the Manco Hotel respectively. Make sure you memorize what the robot told you, because he's not giving you any repeats if you weren't paying attention. Once again, before heading out, look around the map and take a mental note of the locations you'll need to find the listed items. Firstly, to get the metal scrap, you'll have to find a way around into the building's 6th floor second room. The problem is that it's locked from the inside, so find a way to get in from the outside. Either rocket jump or simply run up to the roof where you can drop down onto the balcony where you'll be able to get in. Secondly, for you to access the batteries, you'll need to look around the outside of the barn in the farm in order to turn on the lights. Otherwise, it's impossible to not get lost in the pitch black. And lastly, the gas is located in the Jimmy Jam shop, just laying on one of the store shelves. Go back to your crib and give the robots what they need for their repairs. For now, it's time to get to the real business. The teleporter leading to Grey Man's base is located on the outer B side of the city. To reach it, the team will first have to traverse a gate which is locked with a special security in place. But only the robots are able to open it, so the team will have to find the code in the large castle. It's protected by dangerous foes and also poisonous gas. So to get in, the robot soldier tells them they'll have to find some special ingredients in order for him to brew some special resistance potion for the mercenaries. Yup, another fetch quest. So once again, listen carefully to the instructions. You'll need a cactus, a pumpkin, and some mushrooms, all of which are located on the northern side of the map. The cactus from the farm, the pumpkin from the locked crate near the base, and finally some mushrooms near the bar. Get them to the robot soldier and he'll brew you some potions. Now, having drank the potions, you can finally move into the castle without taking any damage, and start looking for the gate code to the next Mann City area. Flip a lever on top, find a key here, open some doors there, until finally you enter the room full of boxes. Inside, you'll find a dying robot scout from the Resistance, conveying to the team with his last words that the codes are located somewhere here, right under the boxes, before promptly shutting down. Punch them, and quickly find the code to get the hell out of there before the swarm of robots overwhelms this tiny room. And that should be all for this part of Mann City. I really like the idea of making such a large map, and especially in Man vs Machine. This gives room for some nice things you'd never experience in regular MvM. For instance, as previously mentioned, the machine attacks maps stretch past the regular standard upgrade meta you'd regularly use by throwing various unusual obstacles at you, as in, you'd consider buying health regen as an upgrade as opposed to the standard better option of health on kill. The same is true for this map, where one upgrade has helped me tremendously: Recall. For only 10 credits a piece, you can be instantly teleported to your base, which was a big time saver for this map. Undoubtedly, spending a lot of time simply looking around for various objects around this huge map for the fetch quests proved to be a very time-consuming practice, and Recall was just the right canteen upgrade to shave off some precious time at basically no cost. Point is, you wouldn't use this very often in regular Man vs Machine with the often ran two-way teleporters on large maps, or just opting to buy upgrades in between waves. But most of all, exploring this map was kinda fun, and yet such a concept, while really cool, had its flaws. The open world model didn't really work too well with the robots at times. Some would be lost, others standing still, and worst of all, sometimes it felt like there was just not enough of them. Their pathing was most likely hard to design for such a map where the players would be navigating all over the place for quests and exploration for perks. You'd have moments where you were aimlessly running around an empty server, and others where you were overrun by so many robots in a tiny spot that you have no breathing room. For me, when I was looking around the barn for a quest to find the batteries, I had to turn on the lights outside, but I was unaware of that, and was just stuck inside this pitch black place fighting robots until there were too many of them to handle. But thankfully, you can't technically lose on this map, so with enough patience, you can get through with no problems. All in all, it's a cool concept, and one that pushes the MvM limits. But now, the mercenaries head back to the gate with their new codes, joined by the robot soldier and sniper. Give them some cover from Grey Man's army while they're busy opening the door for the next 2 minutes until the gates to the next part of the city open for you. Man City Zone B. With 5 robot outposts, it's home to one of the largest settlements of these bots. But here lies the teleporter straight to Grey Man's base, so there's no way other than straight into danger. The mercenaries without any help capture the outpost closest to the gate and settle it as their small safe house where they can upgrade, get buffed, and discuss matters with the Resistance. Once again, they'll have to follow the directions of the friendly robots to figure out anything in this vast open world city. The same principles from the previous episode apply here as well, except the map is bigger and the quests are much harder. It feels as if the creator of the map decided to solve the issue of map emptiness by buffing spawns of various robots as you level up. Truthfully, that sort of made an illusion to me that the robots weren't lost half the time, especially when bigger foes started spawning and you'd have to spend a lot more time dealing with them. Expect serious enemies in this episode, more than ever. With the team's new captured outpost, they take some time inside to familiarize themselves with the map. Downstairs are multiple buffs, some of which are broken for some reason, while upstairs are your standard upgrade station and the friendly robots. But most importantly, on the roof lies the teleporter, in half working condition. The team will have to scavenge the city for parts and defend their captured outposts from any robot attacks. In terms of other outposts, they are usually guarded by some robots, and capturing them will provide your team with several benefits. First of all, killing robots or capturing the point will net you experience, which not only gives you buffs like in the last episode, but is now also a prerequisite for starting a mission. So as soon as you get settled and get your starter upgrades, go out and start hunting for some levels. Furthermore, if you manage to capture an objective, you'll be able to instantly teleport to it from the bottom floor of the base. Pair the ability to teleport to any captured point with the recall canteen, and you'll have the Team Fortress 2's equivalent of fast travel for this map. Starting from level 3, you can talk to the robot soldier who will assign you your first quest for the teleporter. He needs the following 3 parts for it to function: a small satellite, some energy tanks, and fuel gas. And where do you find them? Well, that he doesn't know, so it's up to you to find them. What an asshole! How am I supposed to find all of this shit in this gigantic map? My solution? Google. They're pretty obscure, but anyways, here they are in order. The satellite is on the 2nd floor outside of the church, the fuel gas is inside the truck just outside behind a bunch of boxes, and finally, the energy tanks are located behind a flipped motor vehicle right besides capture point B. Honestly, there are no indications as to where they are. These pieces are so scattered about the map that even if you're lucky enough to find one by accident while roaming, you still have 2 more to go before you can continue. But this ties pretty well with the second mission, which is all about defending your newly set up teleporter on the roof starting from level 5. A large convoy of enemy tanks is approaching from the A zone of Mann City, and they're all here just to deploy a large bomb destroying the teleporter. Stop them at all costs, and make sure to be ready to face the various other robots at the same time. They all have 100,000 health each, adding up to a total of 1 million hit points for you to burn down. Make sure that you use every possible buff and strategy to your advantage here, or else you'll be facing game overs non-stop. Seriously, this is no easy task to take them all down. But here's some advice from most to least useful in helping you for this part. Have a lot of players. Use premium upgrades. Capture point B on the map to open the manpower bonuses and grab the haste ability for a huge boost in your fire rate and reload speed. Make use of the flags along the tank's path, providing crit and mini crit bonuses for any bystanders. And lastly, buy ammo refill canteens. Otherwise, I would mention for you to make use of various other perks this map offers, but as it is, they're simply non-functional. The nuclear bonus is supposed to be a map-wide benefit for everyone to use on a 30-second cooldown, but just does absolutely nothing. The briefcases on the 2nd floor giving bonuses to their carriers are seemingly useless, providing no effect. And lastly, the standard 10 bonuses from previous maps are locked behind a door that doesn't open no matter what you do. Anyhow, this isn't really an issue as long as you're able to spawn the tanks, because for some reason, over half of my attempts had to be restarted at this point of the episode because the tanks simply refused to spawn at all, soft locking me completely, having to restart from the beginning. Anyways, take them down in a courageous fight, as the robot's difficulty slowly starts ramping up as you progress in levels. Beware of giants, titans, and the occasional Reaper robots that will spawn as you level up. But by now, with the money from all of these destroyed tanks, the team should be closer to fixing the teleporter. One last thing before they can head out, the team collectively agrees to destroy some of the spawn points for the robots, to ease Mann City's bot infestation problems. All around the map, take them out quickly, and head back to your base, where at level 10, you can finally talk to the robot soldier to start up the teleporter. So get to the roof and start lagging. Oh my god, this part is so unbelievably laggy. I've probably averaged like 5 FPS during the 2-minute teleporter startup sequence with the audio sound completely disappearing. But there's one thing I haven't mentioned yet. There's a quest you have to complete at level 9, but I purposely ignored it as lore-wise it makes no sense whatsoever. If you're curious, in it you have to break out the robot soldier from the local prison. How could this have happened? The guy is literally standing in one spot, not moving the entire time. But the thing is, This wouldn't be too much of an issue if trying to break out the guy wasn't a freaking heist and a half. You have to break into the prison from the vents, look around for notes and try to open doors. As soon as you break him free, he tells the mercenaries that the reason he didn't get killed is because they wanted to kill the team instead. It makes no sense, and I've come to the following realization. Perhaps the real puzzle we solved in Machine Attacks along the way is the puzzling lore. Anyhow, defend the robot soldier as he starts up the teleporter on the roof, and get ready to lag off straight to Grey Man's base. The last episode, the grand finale of Machine Attacks. The teleporter worked just right and now the mercenaries are in Grey Man's base, now to dig away at his last line of defense. Utilizing teamwork to their advantage, the team is able to solve any roadblocks in front of them. Rocket jumping over big obstacles, double jumping onto platforms, and coordinating synchronized problem solving. The team finally gets to hear Grey Man himself talk on the speakers. With warm welcomes, he tells the mercenaries that they must get past the last trials and obstacles before they can face him. He'll see them on the other end. More Machine Attacks parkour and puzzle solving. Don't let that stop you. It's almost the end. Finally, there's but one last thing to complete. As a team, the mercenaries are seemingly unstoppable, destroying countless robots, overcoming the most puzzling and hard lows, and enduring hell itself. Ahead lies the final test, Grey Man's Arena, a glorified coliseum where our red gladiators will have to win the best of 5 in small teams against equally strong robots, be it 1 vs 1s, 2 vs 2s, or 3 vs 3s. If you lose at least 3 rounds, you're all eliminated. Slowly descending down the elevator, floor by floor, everyone takes some time to observe the scenery of stacked boxes and the absence of life in this grey base. At last, there he is, the coward, standing behind a glass window. "We are here to defeat you, moron," screams the soldier.
"Look, I just want the best for the world. If I take over Manco, I'll be able to create new things, a new team for you to fight. I'll create new weapons for you to play with, increase drop rates, and even add a 10th class. Aren't you interested?"
"I don't trust you, old man. You're a liar."
"I suggest you surrender to me, for my robots have already taken over the world by now, and you are but a few gunmen for hire. Just look at what happened to the blue team. If you continue with your adventures, you'll end up like them."
"Enough," says the heavy. "We're not giving up. We will destroy you before you do anything else." That should do it. Taught the old man a lesson there for sure. Sweet revenge and evil plans cancelled. And what now? Well, the robots are pretty much everywhere, so some cleanup work is due by the red team. I hope you enjoyed this story. I had a lot of fun replaying all of the maps, reliving memories from the past. It served as a trip down memory lane from the time I joined these servers and played the maps at random. Truth be told, I might not even have ever made this video or played any of the Machine Attacks if I wasn't immediately hooked on the cinematic aspect of the episode with flying airships and the epic parachute escape in Chapter 9. Hopefully, this video has shed some light on this rather unknown map series. There's been a lot of work put into this, despite the frustrating gameplay, the broken English, and the constant crashes encountered along the way. It's truly one of the best and most unique MvM experiences in all of Team Fortress 2. Thanks for watching.